Commander Vox Nara swept his four-fingered hand across the console, calling up the security feeds from all 38 decks of the Dominion Mothership Eternal Conquest. What a cruel irony that name had become. Nothing about our conquest had proven eternal. Quite the opposite. "Status report," I said, doing my best to suppress the unease creeping into my voice as second commander. I had to project authority even as the ship unraveled around us. "All systems are operational," reported Lieutenant Kraz. "But we're still missing 12 crew members from Deck 17. His orange eyes blinked rapidly, an unmistakable sign of distress among our species. "And internal sensors?" I asked. "Malfunctioning across sectors 8 through 12. "Malfunctioning?" I scoffed. "Or disabled? There's a difference." Kraz shifted uneasily, his scales catching the cold blue light of the command deck. "Disabled, Second Commander. Thiel Rock." "Almost certainly." I exhaled slowly through my breathing slits. Perfect. Just perfect. 3 cycles of triumphant conquest through the Milky Way, and now, our unstoppable Dominion fleet brought to its knees by, what? One human? Humans. How I loathed them. Soft-skinned, frail, endlessly emotional, and disturbingly obsessed with water. When our fleet first encountered Earth, Dominion analysts predicted surrender in 2 standard days. That was 3 years ago. "Any patterns in the disappearances?" I asked, scanning the personnel roster. Names in red. Zul, Thar, Mekvi, Pren, battle-hardened soldiers. Not the type to vanish quietly. "None we've detected," Kraz answered. "But Chief of Security Drenval suspects the human is using the maintenance tunnels to move undetected." "Maintenance tunnels?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Those were built for service drones, not for upright, squishy mammals. They're barely half a meter wide. Humans are surprisingly flexible," Kraz offered, though he sounded unsure. "And surprisingly lethal," I muttered. "Double security around the engine core and life support systems. If it were me, I'd strike there." "Already done, Second Commander," I gave a short nod, briefly impressed by Kraz's initiative. Initiative. Maybe it would keep him from becoming another red name on the manifest. At this rate, we'd all be red names soon enough. The command center doors slid open with a hiss, and Commander Vox Nara entered. His normally pristine uniform was rumpled, and the ceremonial crest atop his head drooped slightly, a clear indicator of overwhelming stress. "Second Commander Thiel Rock," he greeted, offering only a terse nod. "Any sign of the intruder?" "None, Commander. But another 12 crew have gone missing from Deck 17, and sectors 8 through 12 are now completely dark." Vox Nara let out a low hiss, a sound that would rattle the nerves of even seasoned officers. "How?" he growled. "How is this possible? Our security protocols are unmatched across the known galaxy. Thermal scans, motion tracking, toxin surveillance. How does one human bypass all of it?" I had theories. None he would care to hear. The truth was, we were facing something our military logic never accounted for, something unpredictable, something human, and now we were running out of time, missing crew members. We had underestimated the humans from the start, declared them primitive for lacking interstellar capabilities, mocked their crude weaponry and fractured planetary alliances, and then they started fighting back. "Commander," I said cautiously, "perhaps we should consider relocating non-essential personnel to support vessels. If the human's intent is to—" "The Mothership," he spat the word like venom, "to abandon it? Admit failure to a human? The High Command would strip our crests for such disgrace." "With respect, Commander, the High Command isn't here. We are, and we're responsible for the lives of 10,000 souls on board." Vox Nara's glare could have melted Durasteel. "Your concern is noted, Second Commander, but my orders stand. We will locate this human, and we will make an example of them. There will be no evacuation." I bowed in formal compliance, but inside, I cursed his obstinance. Pride. Our fatal flaw as a species, too much pride, too little adaptability. Humans, however, they adapted with terrifying ease. "Commander! Second Commander!" A panicked voice cut through the strained quiet. "Communications!" Officer Lirzala, her slender fingers flying across her console. "We're receiving a transmission from inside the ship." Vox Nara and I locked eyes. "Put it through," he said. Ordered. And the main view screen flared to life. For the first time, we saw our adversary face to face. The human was, to be blunt, unimpressive. Female, I thought, though human gender cues still baffled me. Short, reddish-brown head fur, skin the color of pale sand, no claws, no fangs, no visible weaponry. She looked exhausted. Smears of what I could only assume were traces of our crew's blue blood stained her simple black uniform. "Hello there," she said, giving a disturbingly casual wave. Given the context, borderline grotesque, I figured it was time for a chat. Vox Nara stepped forward, his posture tall, voice cold. "I am Commander Vox Nara of the Dominion Mothership Eternal Conquest. You have unlawfully boarded my vessel, slaughtered my crew, and committed high acts of sabotage. Surrender now, and I may grant you a swift death." The human laughed. "That's very generous of you, Commander." "Vox Nara? Did I say that right? Anyway, I have a counteroffer. You evacuate this ship within the next 2 hours, and I won't turn it, and everyone on it, into space debris." I couldn't stop myself. "You expect us to believe a single human can destroy a Class 5 Dominion mothership? You're not even visibly armed." Her eyes, wide and unsettlingly wet, locked on me. "Second Commander. Sorry, didn't catch. The name?" "Thiel Rock," I said, instantly regretted it. "Well, Second Commander Thiel Rock, you're right, I don't look dangerous, but appearances can deceive. Take your ship, for example. From the outside, it looks like an impenetrable fortress, a triumph of advanced alien engineering, technology. But would you like to hear what I've discovered over the past 16 hours? She didn't wait for permission. "I've learned that your supposedly state-of-the-art ventilation system has override panels accessible from any maintenance junction. I've learned your security drones, so fearsome on paper, can be reprogrammed. With just a few lines of code, I've learned that your crew, for all their snarling and scales, panic just like humans when the lights go out and the air gets thin." She leaned closer to whatever camera feed she was hijacking. "But most importantly, I've learned your engine core has a truly fascinating design flaw. If the magnetic containment field is interrupted while the secondary power couplings are in diagnostic mode, well, boom." Vox Nara waved a hand dismissively. "Ridiculous. The core is protected by our elite guard. You'd never get near it." The human smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Who said anything about getting near? "It? I'm already done. The containment disruptors are in place. The diagnostic cycle is queued. I either press a button or just sit back. Sequence goes live in exactly 2 hours." A chill crept down my spine. There was something about her. Calm. "Sure, deadly. This is a bluff," Vox Nara said, but I heard the tremble beneath his tone. "Is it?" she replied, with an indifferent shrug. "Maybe. Maybe not. Are you willing to gamble 10,000 lives to find out?" "Why?" I asked, before Vox Nara could snarl a response. "Why do this? Why board a mothership alone? This is suicide." Her expression changed, softness gone, replaced by something sharp, cold, and bitter. "Second Commander Thiel Rock, do you remember what happened 3 months ago at Earth Colony Outpost 7? I did. We all did. It had been a slaughter. One of our more zealous commanders had decided to make an example of that human colony. No survivors, 3,000 civilians. Your people," she continued, her voice steady and low, "called it a necessary pacification measure. We called it something else. That action, Wasn't authorized, I said quickly. The High Command never— Don't! She snapped, sharp enough to pierce Durasteel. Don't insult me with excuses. Your fleet, your responsibility. My name is Captain Meera Jones, Earth Defense Force, Special Operations. My husband and my 7-year-old daughter were at Outpost 7. She paused, but only for breath. This isn't just revenge, she said, voice eerily calm. It's a message. Humans don't break. We don't surrender, and we never forget. One human, one mothership. Think about what that means for your glorious invasion plans. The screen went black. For a long, pulsing silence, no one in the command center moved. Then, Voxnera turned to me, face unreadable. Verify her claims, full diagnostic of the engine core, and find her. Officers leapt into motion. I returned to my console, fingers flying, but my mind moved faster. Seconds later, Lieutenant Kra's voice cut through. Second Commander, engine control reports that the secondary power couplings are locked in diagnostic mode. We can't override the sequence. Voxnera slammed a fist into a console. How? How is this possible? I knew. She'd told us. We hadn't listened. Humans, always adapting, always finding the weak seams in our perfect armor. Commander, I said, swallowing hard, knowing what this would cost me. We have to evacuate, now. I gave my order. Second Commander, I'm respectfully suggesting your order will result in the deaths of everyone aboard this ship. I rarely raised my voice, and the shift in tone drew glances from several officers. Commander, she's not bluffing. The diagnostic sequence is locked in. If what she said about the containment field is accurate— If, Voxnera interrupted, emphasis biting, we have no confirmation she's actually tampered with the containment field. Respectfully, sir, we also have no confirmation that she hasn't. And given what she's managed already, his communicator buzzed. Commander, came Chief Engineer Volpak's strained voice. We've discovered unauthorized devices affixed to the containment field generators. We're attempting removal, but they appear booby-trapped. A second silence fell, heavier than the last. At last Voxnera spoke. Initiate evacuation protocols. Priority 1 personnel first. Purge or secure all data cores. Relief surged through me, briefly. Second Commander Thiel Rock, Voxnera continued, you will remain on board with a tactical team. Locate and neutralize the intruder. If possible, disable her devices. You have 2 hours. A chill crept down my spine. Commander, that's an order, Second Commander. Consider it an opportunity to exhibit the adaptability you seem to admire in our adversary. With that, he exited, already barking orders into his comm. Kara looked at me, pity softening his gaze. Orders, Second Commander? I inhaled deeply. 2 hours to locate 1 human in a ship, meant for 10,000 Dominion troops. A human who had outwitted every layer of our security. Assemble a team, I said. 20 of our best, not muscle, brains, engineers, medics, analysts, anyone who understands how humans think. A curious selection for a pursuit team, Cray noted. We're not hunting, Lieutenant, I said. We're solving a problem. And right now, that problem is named Captain Meera Jones. As Kra moved to gather the group, I returned to the security feeds. Somewhere on this vast ship, 1 human was preparing to turn it into a tomb. And if I couldn't stop her, I'd go down with it. All right, Captain Jones, I muttered. Let's see who adapts faster. The evacuation alarm began to blare, a sound I'd never imagined hearing aboard a Dominion mothership, especially not for a single human. But then again, I was beginning to understand. When it came to humans, expectations were made to be broken. Teams of 2, I ordered as my hastily gathered unit assembled. But stay connected, constant communication. 20 pairs of orange eyes stared back at me, a mixture of fear and determination, evident in their vertical pupils, not the usual security brutes. As I'd specified to Cross, these were our brightest engineers, tacticians, medical officers. If anyone, evacuation orders. could outsmart a human, it would be them. The human will be expecting us to check the obvious locations first. I continued engine core. Life support weapon system, so we will do exactly that, but carefully she's laid traps throughout the ship. Assume nothing is safe, Second Commander, spoke up Dr. Mattel, our chief xenobiologist. If I may, humans have certain physiological limitations. We might exploit they require more frequent hydration than our species, they cannot see in infrared, and their hearing range is quite narrow. I nodded. Good, what else they are? Persistence predators, added. Lieutenant Jack's a tactical specialist on their home world. Before they developed technology, they would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can maintain physical activity longer than almost any species we have encountered, so she won't tire easily. I muttered. Anything else they are. Packanimals. Dr. Mtal said highly. Social. This one is operating alone, which is unusual for their species. It might make her unpredictable, as if Captain Jones hadn't already proven that. 1,000 times over 1 hour and 47 minutes remaining. Kra announced, checking his chronometer. Move out. I ordered find her, but do not engage. Without backup. This human has already killed at least 12 of our crew as the teams dispersed. Kra remained at my side. Where will we search, Second Commander? I considered. The question, if I were Captain Jones, where would I go? Not the engine core, she'd already done her work there. Not the command center, too obvious. Where would a human hide on a Dominion mothership, the evacuation vessels? I realized suddenly she will want to make sure no one can disarm her devices. The best way to do that is to eliminate the engineers who would know how Kraz's eyes widened. She will target the evacuation. It's what I would do, I said grimly. Come on. We moved quickly through the corridors of Deck 3, where the primary evacuation bay was located. The ship's alarms continued to wail, and we passed dozens of crew members rushing in the opposite direction towards safety. None spared us a second glance in an evacuation. It was every Dominion. For themselves, Second Commander Kra said quietly as we approached the bay. Why did you volunteer to stay behind? Volunteer? Hey, did you miss the part where Commander Voxara ordered me to remain on board? With respect, sir, you could have found a way off. The ship, no one would have questioned it in this chaos. I glanced at him, surprised by his perception. Perhaps I believe we can still save the ship, or perhaps Kra suggested you agree with the human. I stopped walking. Explain yourself. Lieutenant, carefully. Kiare's scales shifted nervously, but he held my gaze. You spoke against the massacre at Outpost 7. When news reached us, I heard. The search begins. You arguing with Commander Voxara. You said it would only strengthen human resistance. That was a tactical assessment, not a moral one, I said stiffly. Of course, Second Commander, but his tone suggested he didn't believe me. Perhaps he was right. Not to the truth was I had found the slaughter at Outpost 7 distasteful, unnecessary. Beneath what the Dominion should stand for, we were conquerors, yes. But there was no glory in killing defenseless colonists. But that was a dangerous line of thinking, one that could get an officer demoted. Or worse, we reached the evacuation bay, a massive hangar filled with transport. Vessels, hundreds of crew members were boarding in orderly lines, supervised by harried-looking officers. Commander Voxner stood on a raised platform directing the flow of evacuees. Priority 1 personnel only. He bellowed, all others proceed to secondary evacuation. Points. I approached him, crow at my heels, Commander. Any sign of the human Vox? Nara turned, his crest rising slightly in surprise. Second Commander, no, nothing yet. Your search team's still looking, but I believe she may target the evacuation vessels. We should increase security here. He frowned. We need every available security officer searching the ship for her and those devices. With respect, Commander, what good is finding her if she's already sabotaged our escape route? Oxnara hesitated, then nodded, curtly. Very well, I will assign additional guards to all evacuation points, thank you, Commander, as he moved away to give the orders. Kraye leaned close to me. Second Commander, look. He pointed to a maintenance hatch on the far wall of the hangar. It was open just slightly. Stay here, I ordered. Keep watch on. The commander, if you see anything suspicious, alert me immediately, drawing my pulse, pistol. I made my way toward the maintenance hatch, weaving through the crowd of evacuees. None paid me any attention. They were too focused on saving themselves. The maintenance tunnel beyond the hatch was narrow. Just as I'd noted earlier how a human could navigate these cramped passages was beyond me, but the evidence suggested they managed quite well. I squeezed myself into the tunnel, my broader shoulders scraping against the metal walls. The air was stale, recycled too many times, and there was another scent, something unfamiliar, something human. I followed the tunnel for several minutes, using the light on my pistol to illuminate the way the passage branched repeatedly, forming a complex network that ran throughout the ship. No wonder she'd been able to move undetected. A soft sound caught my attention, a rhythmic tapping. I froze, listening. Intently, it was coming from a junction ahead. Cautiously, I approached pulse pistol at the ready. The tapping grew louder. It sounded deliberate, a pattern of some kind. I rounded the corner and found myself face to face with Captain Meera Jones. She sat cross-legged on the floor of a slightly wider section of tunnel, surrounded by what appeared to be parts from our security drones. She looked up at me seemingly unsurprised. Second confrontation in the tunnels, Commander Thiel Rock. She greeted me as if we were colleagues passing in a corridor. I was wondering when someone would check the maintenance tunnels. Took you long enough. I kept my pistol trained on her. Captain Jones, you have caused quite a bit of trouble. That was rather the point. She gestured to my weapon, going to shoot me. That depends. Are you going to deactivate the devices you have placed on our engine core? She smiled thinly. No. Then, yes, I'm going to shoot you. But you haven't yet, which means you want something from me. First, receptive for a human information. I acknowledged. How did you get aboard our shield? Should have prevented any unauthorized vessels from approaching. Trade secret. She tapped a finger against a small device on her wrist. But let's just say your shield frequencies aren't as secure as you think they are, and the maintenance tunnels. How did you know about them? We have captured Dominion ships before, smaller ones, but the design principles are the same. Your people are nothing if not consistent. I had to admire her composure, alone, cornered, facing an armed enemy, yet she spoke as if she were conducting a routine briefing. You said this was about sending a message, I prompted. Why not just destroy the ship from the outside? Why board it at all? Would we be having this conversation if I'd done that? She raised an eyebrow. I wanted your people to know exactly who was responsible. I wanted you to see my face to know that one human could bring down your mighty mothership pride. I said that's a weakness. My species and yours seem to share for the first time. She looked slightly taken aback, perhaps. But there's more to it than that. Your family, I guessed, on Outpost 7, her expression hardened. My daughter's name was Eliza. She was learning to play the piano. My husband, Marcus, was a botanist. He was developing crops that could grow in alien soils. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Are you? She studied me with those disconcertingly round eyes. Would you have stopped it? If you could have. Would I'd spoke against it, certainly. But would I have actively prevented it? Risked my position, my life to save human civilians? I don't know, I admitted. She nodded as if my honesty had confirmed something for her. 1 hour and 12 minutes left. Second Commander, you should probably get to an evacuation vessel. You know I can't do that because you were ordered to stop me or because you think I deserve to succeed. I adjusted my grip on the pistol. Neither, because there are still 9 of my people on this ship. Not all of them agree with what happened at Outpost 7. Not all of them deserve to die for it. Collateral damage, she said flatly. That's what your commander called the children of Outpost 7. I had no response to that. Tell me, Second Commander, what will happen if I deactivate my devices? If your mothership survives, will the Dominion stop its conquest of human worlds? Will there be justice for Outpost 7? I can't promise that. No, you can't, she sighed. So we are at an impasse. An idea. The compromise occurred to me then, a desperate, possibly foolish idea. What if there was another way, a compromise? Her eyes narrowed. What kind of compromise? I can't promise that the Dominion will stop its conquest, but I can promise that stories will spread stories about how Inhuman infiltrated a mothership and forced its evacuation, stories about how humans are not the easy prey we thought they were. Stories don't bring back the dead, she said bitterly. No, but they can change the living. Seeds of doubt planted in the right minds, they can grow into something powerful. She considered this, her alien features, unreadable to me. You are suggesting I let you all live in exchange for propaganda. I'm suggesting that a message can be sent without more bloodshed. That perhaps there are those within the Dominion who would welcome a reason to reconsider this war. A long moment of silence stretched between us. I was acutely aware of the time ticking. Away finally she spoke. You are different from the others. Why I have studied your species. I admitted more thoroughly than most. I have read your literature. Your history. You are fascinating, contradictory, capable of both terrible cruelty and remarkable compassion, not so different from your own kind. It seems no. I agreed, not so different at all. She tapped her wrist device again, checking some sort of readout. 58 minutes. If I were to consider your compromise, I would need guarantees. Name them first. I leave this ship alive and unharmed. I nodded, agreed. Though I can't speak for what happens after you leave our space second. You personally ensure that the story spreads the true story, not some propaganda about how the mighty Dominion crushed another human terrorist. I can do that, and third, she hesitated, justice for Outpost 7. The commander responsible must be held accountable. This was trickier, that would require bringing the matter before the High Command. I have some influence, but do you know who gave the order? She interrupted. Yes, Commander Dralar of the battlecruiser Merciless Judgment. Then that's who I want. Not the entire Dominion, not this ship and everyone on it, just him. I considered her words carefully. You are asking me to betray a fellow officer. I'm asking you to uphold the principles you claim your Dominion stands for, or was. All that talk about honorable conquest just lies. She had me there, the Dominion. Aftermath and message delivered. Did have a code of conduct in warfare, one that Dralar had flagrantly violated it. Outpost 7, very well. I said finally I will do everything in my power to see. Dralar brought to justice. Captain Jones studied me for what felt like an eternity. Then slowly she reached for her wrist device and tapped a complex sequence. The containment? Field disruptors are deactivated. She said, you have my word, verify it if you don't believe me. I kept my pistol trained on her as I activated my communicator. Have engineering checked the containment field. The human claims to have deactivated the disruptor after an agonizing minute. Kra's voice came back, confirmed. Second Commander, the devices are inactive. Relief flooded through me. Thank you, Captain Jones. Don't thank me. Yet, Second Commander, I'm still leaving with proof that I was here, and if I don't receive confirmation within one standard month that Commander Dressel has been charged for his crimes, I will release instructions on how to breach Dominion shields to every human resistance cell in the galaxy. A reasonable precaution, understood. I lowered my pistol and stepped back, giving her space to stand. I will escort you to your vessel. Not necessary. I know, the way she gathered a few small devices from the floor. One more thing, Second. Commander, when you tell this story, and you will tell, it makes sure you include the part where one human made an entire mothership evacuate. That's the message I once sent. I promised, though I suspect Commander Voxara will be less than thrilled with that narrative. She actually smiled, then a genuine expression. Not the cold one from our earlier communication. Not your problem. Is it? He will be too busy explaining to your high command why he abandoned ship. I couldn't help it. Aloft indeed he will. She moved past me, heading deeper into the maintenance tunnels. Goodbye. Second Commander Thiel Rock, for what it's worth. I hope we don't meet again, as do I. Captain Jones, though, under different circumstances, I think we, conclusion, might have had fascinating conversations in another life, perhaps, and then she was gone, vanishing into the labyrinth of tunnels with a grace that belied her alien physiology. I returned to the evacuation bay where Kraz waited anxiously. "Second Commander, the devices are deactivated. How did you convince her?" I looked around at the chaos of the evacuation, at Commander Vox Nara still shouting orders from his platform, at the thousands of Dominion troops rushing to escape a threat that no longer existed. I listened. I said simply, "Something we should have done long ago." 3 days later, as our fleet regrouped, the rumors were already spreading how one human had infiltrated our mothership, how she had nearly destroyed it single-handedly, how even the mighty Dominion wasn't safe from human vengeance, seeds of doubt planted in fertile minds. And as for Commander Dressler, let's just say that justice comes in many forms. Sometimes it arrives in the form of a formal military tribunal, and sometimes it arrives in the form of a lone human slipping past your defenses when you least expect it.